Yes, welcome back to the Sports Show. Now, Rocky, we know part of playing sport, of course, there's always injuries, and then there's a question of how you come back from an injury. Our next guest, of course, Beth, Shimmin, 29 at the moment, did both her cruciates at the same time, if you can believe it. Rare injury, Beth. Thanks for coming in.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, we've been around you a little while, waiting for the cameras to warm up and stuff like that. I've never met anyone more positive. But let's go through this. February of 2015. So you're a former Thunderbird player. So we're not talking about someone that's playing socially, and nothing against the people that play socially. An elite athlete. Most accept that they can do one knee, but you do both cruciates at the same time. Did you know when you did them? Did you know it was two at once?
I didn't, because you never imagine that you're going to do two at once, let alone or one. You hope that you don't. I thought to myself when it happened that I've either done something really stupid or I've done something really bad. But the knees that I've seen in the past, you know, most of them have been, unfortunately, people going down in a screaming heap, kind of clutching their knees. When mine happened, I was going for a pocket ball across the circle. I was playing wing defence. I intercepted the ball. I flicked it between my legs to keep it in play, kept it in play. But that movement caused my knees to go in. So I kind of landed with my feet on the floor, but my knees almost knocked together. Wow. And I understand now when people say they feel a ligament go, it's a pop. I heard two cracks, felt two pops almost simultaneously. It was one after the other. And just, stayed down on the floor for a while trying to catch my breath.
So what's the pain like, Beth?
It wasn't, for me, and mine's again very different. I think because I completely ruptured both, it wasn't anything severe in terms of those injuries I was describing. Okay. It was, I got up and walked off the court. We were playing a round robin competition for the pre-season cup at the time. Our kind of home base, our camp for the day, was up the grandstand at Priceline Stadium. So our physio's bench and table was all set up there. So I walked up the grandstand and she did the knee test where your knee's bent up and she, you know, pulls the. Well, she actually said to me, "Oh, you know, Beth, both your knees feel quite loose. So maybe you just have loose ligaments. We'll get you to go to the hospital anyway." So I popped some ice on it for a little bit, and then Mum took me to the hospital.
Okay, so you get to the hospital, and then you get the result. My understanding is there are different levels of pain when it happens. It sounds like with yours, there's a nerve that you can sever at the same time that stops the pain, which sounds like.
I'm so glad that I did.
But then, why wouldn't you be?
You got to do it
but
properly.
Then the doctor comes in, and after all the tests are done, and he says, "You've done both your cruciates." Can you remember what went through your mind at that moment?
I do, because there were two pretty significant occasions in terms of getting the bad news. So on the way to the hospital, I said to Mum, "You know, Mum, I was 27, feeling a little. Is the expression long in the tooth? Feeling a little like an old veteran out there, even at 27.
You've nearly done your time.
But on the way, I just said to Mum, "You know, Mum, I don't know if I can come back from this. Like, this is pretty, you know, if I've done something pretty significant here, you know, I just don't know if I'd have the energy to do all of the rehab and things if it was one knee, because at the time my right knee had blown up like a balloon. Left one seemed fine." Got to the hospital, described my injuries to the doctor, who couldn't do any scans at that point. It was a Saturday, and he just did the knee test, and he said, "Look, Beth, I'm really sorry, but I'm 99% sure you've done your right knee." And he said, "You know, it's so strange. I want to say that you've done your left as well."
I want to.
He goes, "It's impossible." And his words were, "You're one for the books. If you've done this, you're one for the books, because I've never ever heard of it happening. It's almost impossible in a court sport. Car accidents, skiing, as we were talking about before, cheerleading, there have been incidences of both ACLs going, but not in netball, definitely not."
Well, well done, Beth. You're the first person in Australia to do it, so at least you're first at something. Can we run through this? So you know you've got to have the surgery, so that gets set down. So your first surgery on your right knee goes really well.
One minor hiccup in it.
Well, yes, let's talk about the hiccup, because
Okay.
through that you then find out you've got a condition called SVT, which is a heart condition. So not only now you're dealing with 2 knees to rehab, you find out that the electricity messages going to your heart aren't quite right. What is that moment like?
So when I found that out, I was just coming out of recovery and my surgeon was there. And generally, I was expecting to see the surgeon the next day. That's generally what happens. And he's sitting there and my anaesthetist is there too as I'm coming out of recovery, and I straight away said to him, what was my meniscus like? Was it all okay? Thinking that something's wrong with my knee. And they start asking how I'm feeling, and I hear a bit of a beeping, and it's my heart, which started to, as soon as I woke up and the general anaesthetic wore off, it started to slow down from about 300 beats a minute, which is how fast it was going. So my heart had gone into a state of flutter, and I didn't really realise just how dangerous that was at the time
so
when I kind of woke up.
During the operation that was?
Yeah, that happened. So all under control though. My surgeon and anaesthetist did a wonderful job in looking after me. The days following the surgery, I went to see a cardiologist. They did a test called a Holter test, which is something like you have about 7 leads all over you. You have to wear that for 4 days and just have a little device in your pocket that records your heartbeat. Got the results, and when I did get the results, I walked into the cardiologist's office kind of thinking he was going to tell me to get out and stop bringing down the median age of everyone in that office. And instead he said, no, you've actually got something wrong with you, and we need to perform what's called an ablation procedure, where they use cauterize the little offending pathway in your heart that's not conducting my heartbeat properly. Yeah, I was, to be honest, I was more shocked receiving that news than the knee news, because you kind of expect when you're an athlete, you're playing sport, you know, injuries are part of the game. Severity can differ,
but not the heart.
So what else can go wrong? Is that
well,
through the mind?
Again, if things come in threes, then there was my third kind of little hurdle to get over.
All right, so you jump over that hurdle. 10 days later, you have your second surgery on your knee, and then there's a long process to recovery. And so we don't run out of time, and I certainly don't want to play down the amazing achievement to come back from 2 knees at the same time. But April the 18th, 2016, you play your first practice game.
Yeah.
Can you remember the night before, what was running through your head? What was the emotion going just as you stepped on the court to play? Can you take us through that?
Oh, I can. I think it kind of, you go through some pretty significant milestones in your rehab. Being told by your physio, yep, you've done enough work to play, like that's a really emotional moment. That's when, you know, that's when you can kind of, I called my sister and I called mum and I said, I've got the all clear to play, and it's really exciting. My sister Kate came out and watched me, my first practice game. The night before, well, the whole week leading up to it, because I got the clearance on probably a Thursday, and then we were playing on the Monday, just a practice game. And it was only allowed to be 15 minutes tops that I'm allowed to run around. Very exciting, very exciting.
Was there any fear factor with it once you got on the court?
It's constant. I kind of, it's every time I play, whether it's training or a game, the thought of injury, it diminishes.
Good.
But it's still there. There are balls on the court that I don't go for, just because instead of just thinking catch the ball, I'm thinking where am I going to land?
Yeah. Here's a tip: if one's going out, don't jump up and try and throw it through the legs. Okay.
Don't do that.
Quickly now, the Newton Jags. You're co-captain with the Newton Jags now, and they've about to embark in the finals for the first time. So it's an exciting time, not just for you, but for the club. We'll come back to them just quickly. How have you rated your year? Coming back from all of that, now we're in the finals. How have you seen Beth's progress this year?
I've gotten better and better, I have to say. Like, not tooting my own horn, but you've got to get better from playing 7 minutes to 15 minutes and then a half. Had one little hiccup where I hyperextended my left knee going for a ball in my very first game back in the league side, so I came up through the reserves. Playing league, it was against I think it was against Matrix. They're a really, really stunning outfit, and the pace of the game kind of made me go, got a bit of work to do.
Yeah.
After that game, played a number of, I think 4 full games, and I feel like I'm really hitting my straps.
Fantastic.
Just in time, thank goodness. For finals.
Beth, we could talk forever. Unfortunately, we're going to run out of time, but we wish you all the best in the finals.
Thank you.
And we'll get you back after the finals to find out how that all panned out. And I seriously think if you've got a daughter or a son that's had a knee injury and he's looking for a mentor, someone that would be positive, you need to seek out Beth Shimmin and find out how she went about it. It's a great story. Stay with us, still plenty to come.